Well, hey everybody, it's Jeff Diverter here at Rackspace Technology, and I'm so glad to be back. In 30 seconds, it's the return of Solve Live. Well, boy, has it been a while since I have gotten to hang out with you guys, and I'm so glad to be back. Hey everyone, my name is Jeff Diverter, and I'm the Chief Technology Evangelist for us here at Rackspace Technology. Now, through the whole, late summer into the fall, man, we were good about staying on once or twice, sometimes 3 times a week with you guys here across all the fun platforms. Well, there's been some stuff going on with the holidays. I've sold a house. I bought a new house. I moved. The background's different because I'm in a different place. But I am glad now to be back here with you guys. And so we're kind of kicking things back in with a December Tech Roundup. As we all know, it is reInvent week. There is a ton going on over there. But as always, I'd love to encourage you, Philip. Glad you're here, Philip. I want to encourage you guys to be like Philip. Introduce yourselves. Comment down below. You know what? As we've done all of these through the fall, I've had a guest. I have no guest today. You get a whole session of just listening to stuff that I think you need to hear about. And we'll follow a lot of the same format. I'm going to tell you about news. I'll tell you about what's going on in cloud releases. Of course, a ton from AWS. It's been a busy week out in Las Vegas. We've got a small army of rackers out there doing their thing. Also, so introduce yourself to comments below. If you want to get a hold of me, of course, you can reach out on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to find me. But if you have anything you want to reach out to us here at Rackspace, just send a note, an email over to solve@rackspace.com. It's the easiest way to get an email into the team here that produces all of this great content. So reach out and talk to us. Hey, Svan. Yes, I'm going to actually tell you everything that's going to go on here. Glad you asked the question, but you got to tell me, what do you do in cloud? What do you do in tech? How does that fill your day? Here's exactly what's going to go on. We'll call you Svan, or Shvan. I'm mispronouncing your name. Shivram. My apologies. It's a very small text, and I'm a very dense person. Here's exactly what's going to go on in our session. This week in cloud, I'm going to tell you about how the cloud and technology is making the news and why it's important to you, why it matters. Second, we move into cloud releases, where I'll tell you about different cloud releases across all 3 of the hyperscale clouds. Now, that'll get us into a cloud discussion, which is sort of a little blending into what's on your mind, but that's a section where you get to sort of stump the chump. And I'm the chump. If you have any questions for me, I'll see what I can do to answer them. Hey, system admin and cloud engineering, Sharath, I'm glad that you are here as well. We always have a great contingent that comes in from India, so we are thankful for you guys. All right, well, let's move into our into that first section, and that is, if I push all the right buttons. It's been a while since I've been pushing these buttons. It's an article that I thought was important to us to have a little conversation about. And it's from a gentleman who wrote it named Jack Gold. Now, Jack is, he put it out in eWeek. He's a regular contributor over there, I believe. And he is an industry analyst covering emerging technology and a principal analyst over, it looks like, his own firm, the J. Gold Associates. So, Jack, thank you so much for writing this. This is one that rings near and dear to my heart. Now, the title of the article is Hybrid Cloud Isn't Enough. You need a compatible data strategy. Now, before we unpack this article, let's get back into the Wayback Machine a little bit and talk about cloud transformation. Now, when hyperscalers started to come along, we treated them exactly like we treated a company like, Colo or Rackspace and managed hosting. And that was an infrastructure mindset. I need servers. I'm going to go find some servers. Guess what comes along with those servers? The apps trail along. It's what they do. But Then things started to evolve inside of the cloud, and we made a shift as an industry. And that shift was a move to thinking about the application first, which is a great thing to do, because now we think about the application and its needs and how that influences then where the we move these applications, whether it's into a managed hosting environment in a private cloud context, or whether it moves out into public cloud. And we start to adopt more of the serverless and PaaS-based technologies that exist there. Now, this was an improvement because in the first phase, where we're thinking about just infrastructure modernization, the app, it's along for the ride. It's a necessary evil. It has to just deal with whatever we choose for the infrastructure, because it's that infrastructure mindset. But now when we think about the app first, that's even better, because the app is really what matters. The infrastructure should serve the application. But look at this article where it says, when we think about a hybrid cloud, and that's because we're not just using, as an industry, singular clouds. Very rarely does an organization, even when they're all in on a specific cloud, there's 20% at least 20% sitting somewhere else, even if it's still in their own data center. But when we talk about a compatible data strategy, now we're starting to think about that most precious of resources, data, and where that data resides, because data needs to be considered, because once we've moved our apps into these locations, there's a couple of things to think about. First of all, ingress fees or egress fees. That getting data into an app or into a cloud, free. Getting it out, not free. In fact, not free by a long shot. Second to that you need to consider is the fact that once you've moved your app into a cloud, you want to consider a cloud that has the other types of things that's going to create additional value to your data that you move. Meaning, specifically, what types of AI, ML, analytics type services exist there that, as more and more of your applications move in, can we bring that data together and then start to get some additional value out of it? So Daniel's going to be posting producer Daniel's going to be posting these links in the chat, so you'll be able to trace them down. But go read Jack's article. It's a really good article. Hey, let's look at another one. Let's go back to a cybersecurity concept. Now, this is an article out of ZDNet, and Danny Palmer, senior reporter over there, wrote it. And super duper interesting. I know it's no longer Cybersecurity Awareness Month, where we beat you over the head with all things cybersecurity. And what was that one main theme that you heard from us throughout that entire month? I'll tell you what that main theme was. That main theme was, it's the easy stuff that's getting us into trouble. It's basic configuration stuff that is opening the doors to the bad guys coming in and doing super bad things. All right, so here's what they did. This group over at Palo Alto Networks created a series of servers that were just misconfigured or poorly configured or weak passwords, all of the things that we read about, that 80% of all of the hacks that occur, at least 80%, are caused by this. And they created what we call honeypots. Now, when we think about honeypots, it reminds me of one thing, and this has to be where the name came from. I'm sorry, I have to put up a picture of Winnie the Pooh because it's a honeypot. And if it's the one thing that would get Pooh into trouble, is honey. Now, if you're from farther around the world and E. Milne is not an author you're familiar with, go read one of these to your kids. You'll understand a little bit better. So here's what they did. 320 honeypots scattered all about the world on all of your, that's right, Phil, that's who's out there, around the world, that were just misconfigured. Things like weak passwords, leaving RDP open, SSH, SMB, PostgreSQL databases, all the things. So here's what happened. When they put these out there, how long did you think it would take until things were compromised? Here's exactly what they found. 80% of all of these servers, 320 of them, were compromised within the first 24 hours. They weren't publicized on the internet. The bad guys just found them as fast as they possibly could. So 80% of them were compromised within the first 24 hours. Of those servers that had SSH enabled to the internet, they were on average, all of them, all of the SSH servers, on average compromised 26 times a day. Isn't that incredible? The most attacked honeypot was attacked 169 times in a single day. Can you believe that? And then 96% of the 80 different Postgres database servers were compromised by a single individual within 90 seconds. I don't know what tools this guy's got or person's got running in the world to first figure out when Postgres shows up, or the tools they've got to hack them. But make sure you do the obvious things and get it taken care of. So make sure that your servers are well patched. Make sure that you have hardened them. Make sure that you do all of the smart things that you're supposed to do. If you and your organization aren't 100% comfortable with how to do that, find a security firm to help you do it. Don't be like this guy. Don't fall for it. All right. So that means it is time for us. Oh, you saw the green screen, for us to move on. That's right. Have you ever wondered how I do all these fancy things? One of these days, I'll tell you. Maybe that day is today. I use PowerPoint with green screen. Isn't that clever? I'll do a whole video on it one time. All right, so let's talk about cloud releases. So it is AWS week. reInvent is in full force. I watched keynotes. I watched the keynote yesterday. It was a day late. I had a busy day the day before. But lots and lots of announcements coming out of AWS. Just to head over to aws.com, you'll find them scattered all about. But containers, one of my favorite technologies for cloud modernization. It allows you to modernize in place and then move out into cloud of choice as you want to. AWS is leading the charge in how they're supporting and managing containers. There are lots of updates there. First of all, AWS Marketplace for Containers Anywhere. What this means is you can go to the Containers Marketplace and deploy from there anywhere you've got AWS Kubernetes environment running. So that's an incredible thing. So Amazon EKS Anywhere makes that possible to run anywhere, but now you can, from the marketplace, move any of those commercial images wherever you want to run them. Doesn't have to be inside of AWS. Now, I've got a 26-year-old son who is studying a bunch of cool technology stuff these days. He is moving into the whole low-code, no-code space. But they talked about what AWS has available for training online. And Daniel's going to post the link for this. But you know what they've done? And I thought this was super duper clever. He talked about this from the main stage in the keynote. And that was that you can go and take just hundreds and hundreds of courses on AWS technologies, starting from the most basic to the most advanced, getting into machine learning in that most advanced space. And it's all for free, and it's all as simple. And I'm going to use Adam's line. It's as simple as buying a pair of shoes. The interface looks the exact same, except the only thing that's different is the price is zero across all of those things. So if you're looking to sharpen your skills in AWS, they keep adding to that catalog. So head over to there. Daniel will post the link. All right. And Shivram, I do hope you will be able to become a regular attendee as well. We are here most Tuesdays and Thursdays. And over at Azure, they are, of course, chasing down the Kubernetes thing as well. They have lots of updates there. You can create AKS clusters without a local user accounts. This creates greater flexibility when it comes to automating it. Those deployments, AKS auto certificate rotation, speaks to security, doesn't it? We've got to keep these things secure, as well as AKS node image auto update. So you can automatically update the underlying image that's running those environments. So that's super important as well. All right. Hey, look, thanks, Daniel, for posting the link to all of that. It looks long and scary, but it's just an Amazon interface. All right. Also updates over at Azure. Azure database for PostgreSQL, flexible server now generally available. You can use the flexible server deployment option, allowing better control and flexibility of zone redundant, high availability, cost optimization on the Azure database for PostgreSQL managed service. So now we can actually get this as a managed service, which is fantastic. All right, let's move over to Google. Now, we don't want to forget about our good friends over there. DataStream is now generally available. DataStream is a serverless change data capture, or CDC, and replication service. It allows you to synchronize data across database storage systems and applications reliably with minimal latency. You know, when I think about Google, my gosh, I think about what they're doing with data, and it really is incredible. Hey, the Professor Carlos is here. Glad that you are here. Um, what is your question there? Language education systems guru. What are you doing with foreign language issues? I think that a lot of those courses over at AWS are in multi languages. I'm not sure. We're going to have to look into that. Also from Google, what's going on? A deep dive into BigQuery Administration Hub. So BigQuery is arguably, as we think about data inside of Google, Google Cloud is one of those huge, massive draws. I'll tell you, it's a public case story and study for us. We moved all of our data, our internal corporate data for how we manage what we do here at Rackspace, out into BigQuery. Well, there is it's actually a blog article and some underlying articles as well that I want to kind of direct you to, because it will help unlock some of what you can do with that administrator hub and getting better insights, better security, better access into your BigQuery environment. So head over and check that out as well. All right. Well, folks, that is the update from the cloud. I'm going to turn that little button off right there as well. And what I want to talk about now is something that I talk about with our customers a lot. And I mentioned it earlier. That's not what I'm wanting. Where's the right button? Yeah, cloud discussion. There we go. Look, it's all the green screens that aren't covered anymore. And that is the topic of digital disruption. Now, back in 2012 is when the marketers first used that term, digital transformation. And I hated the term from day one. Why did I hate the term from day one? Because in 2012, there wasn't a lot of digital transformation going on. Remember, that was back in that age where we're just moving infrastructure around. And that's not interesting. That's a data center move. But now we're at a point with all of the transformation that has occurred in the hyperscale clouds and also available through container services as well as in private cloud, but so much so in the hyperscalers. There is the opportunity to truly transform the way your organization operates. And just to give you a quick example, you know, there's this movement, and this is one of my predictions for next year. You've heard the term low code, no code a lot, and it speaks to very much RPA, or robotic process automation. I think that this is an area fit for massive explosion. Now, the tools and technologies have been in our hands, but what's unlocking that is the fact that more and more of our applications reside in a hyperscale cloud. And to our first news article this morning, what follows the applications? The data. And in RPA, it's dependent on data. RPA is a robotic process automation. It takes and it responds to some data stimulus, and something then happens with it. It could be an individual putting an entry into a form. It could be an invoice coming into an FTP server or into an email box. It could be any number of thousands upon thousands of different things. Now, we here at Rackspace utilize RPA to help with our processes internally. We've saved quite literally millions of man hours, and that equates to hard dollars inside of Rackspace. We've got a crack team working on that stuff internally. But it's all because and fed by the fact that our data is in one location now, and it can feed this type of stuff. So when an organization takes the mindset of the fact that, hey, look, we're going to look at these processes and how we do things, and we're going to consider them for a change of a modification and a growth into digital. And by digital, it can mean anything that's electronically driven and not, look, I do have a piece of paper. It's an ad for a storage system, not a paper-based driven system, or even somebody emails me and I email them back. That still is a manual process, even though it's digital. Now, when a company goes through digital transformation, considering all of their data assets, considering their server assets, considering their human assets, and how they go about the work that they do. I have a good friend who is the CIO over at Wyndham Hotels and Resorts, a gentleman named Scott Strickland. You should follow the things that he does. I did a podcast on him earlier, was midsummer. You should go back and listen to that. Talks about his career and all of the things that they're doing over at Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. And he's driven by this mindset of another podcast that he listens to, and I forget it, but it's a professor out of NYU. And he uses this phrase that if you're still conducting business or have a business process that could be done the same way back in 1980 as you're doing it today, it could use an update. But Gartner has gone out and done a bunch of research, and I've pulled together a bunch of this different research from the different analyst firms, and there are some hard data benefits that you get when you go through this type of transformation or digital disruption. You get enhanced data collection because you've minimized the amount of databases that you have, greater resource management, data-driven insights, overall better customer experience. You encourage a digital culture within your organization. And as more and more young people enter our enterprise workforce, that's the expectation. Isn't that right, Producer Daniel? And increased profits, agility, and productivity. Ultimately, what this drives are four primary things that I think we all very much would love, and that is increased revenue and profits, acceleration, efficiency, and growth. These are the carrot at the end of the stick, people. This is the reason why we do the hard efforts. Now, I divide this type of transformation, this type of cloud-based transformation into three phases. First, there's infrastructure modernization, a worthy and a valid thing to do. I was talking to a customer on, it was Monday. I was talking to a customer Monday. He's in Norway. It's a global organization. This global organization does some really interesting thing with buying bad debt and the ways that they go about then optimizing that debt and turning it into something of value that they can then remarket. And it's a really fascinating organization. Well, they're all in on Azure, and they spent all of last year and part of this year moving all of their assets as much as possible out into Azure. Now, they didn't do a lot of transformation. They did adopt some, of course, identity and a few other things that are more as a service. But as we talked about, they cut their infrastructure bill down $40,000 a month. Can you believe that? 40,000, that's a 10% roughly impact to their monthly, bottom line. Now, they did that first with a move of moving their infrastructure out. Secondly, they optimized that infrastructure. Now, their projects for next year are to go into what I call the next phase, and that's either your application modernization or transformation. So now we're going to start to think about how we use the as a services type things and actually get into a transactional basis as opposed to a reserved instance type of a basis. And this creates additional value. Now, that third phase, this is the phase where this increased revenue, business acceleration, efficiency, and growth really start to sing. And that is as more and more of these assets enter into the cloud, enter into this environment where your digital workers now have the ability to use the Microsoft Power Platform or other low-code, no-code, or RPA-based tool sets to get in and automate their life. Because as more that they can automate what they do, the more that they can focus on those hard things that only humans can do. That's that digital culture I talked about a minute ago. That's that, how do we go out and encourage and engage our workforce to ensure that they don't get part of this great resignation, that we give them work that matters. And that's where we get into this phase of cloud innovation or modernization that I just call innovation, because so much is in the cloud now. It becomes possible for us to play what if with technology like AI and ML with as simple of a $20 a month bill to figure out if we're going to able to use a data warehouse to consolidate data and see if it works, a proof of concept that would have taken hundreds of thousands of dollars and months upon months of work to stand up infrastructure and other technologies. Now that you're in the cloud, you can experiment with that and find out where the value exists for you. All right, let's push that button right there. Come back to me. I love these conversations. Guys, you've been nice and chatty. Sandar, you had a comment in there back a while ago. I want to just take a look at that because I love the interaction. It says, as the demand for cloud is growing, how can we manage the capacity constraints across different regions now that we have entered the holiday season and the demand? So, Sardar, excuse me, I mispronounced your name. That's one of those things that the cloud kind of just does for you. It's a configuration element. If you are out in AWS, Azure, or Google, there are different names for them. Ultimately, they're resource groups that can expand and contract based on rule sets that you create. Here's another phrase that I use a lot, and that is, you may have heard me use it before, and that is the cloud effectively is infinite. It is infinite in capacity. It is infinite in capability. Now, is it really? No. Can we go do deep quantum work inside of there? No, because we don't have the technology for it yet. Is there truly infinite infrastructure? No. But is there more technology there than our organizations are ready to adopt? Absolutely. Is there more infrastructure there than we have the capacity or the finances to actually consume? 100%. So for us today, the cloud is infinite. The only thing holding us back is the approach. Now, one of the things we'll explore through the rest of December is what approach do we take to moving to the cloud? We'll talk to folks who are trying to really run into the cloud. And like my conversation with that global organization earlier this week that's saving $40,000 a month through their cloud infrastructure tweaking, optimization, I'll call it, still largely VMs, folks. They are making a very slow and measured approach. They are taking incremental wins. They're taking those incremental wins and they're putting them in two bank accounts. They're putting them in the company's bank account because they're saving them money, but they're also putting them in the Goodwill account. Back to Scott Strickland for a second over at Wyndham Hotels and Resorts. Scott has an agreement with his finance team. And he didn't have it at first, but he's earned this agreement. He says, for all the money that I save or that we bring in through these new innovations inside of their cloud of choice by public proclamation as a press release is AWS. He says 1% gets to go back to my team to fund new innovations. And they're saving tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this 1% is actually a pretty significant number for them to play with. And you know what? Finance has never balked once when they've come back after having shown all these wins. So you put money in the financial account, you put money in the Goodwill account with the rest of the organization. Cloud can be a scary place, can it? Because there's a lot of unknowns there. I started with some security stories. But as you show wins, and those wins in even as simple as the fact that the world didn't end because you moved to the cloud, and you are able to save some money, make some money, and do things better and more efficient. These are the benefits that are there. Thanks for the encouragement there, Philip. Of course, it's about scalability and agility. And so Sardar says you complain about not being able to deploy their VMs in different regions. Sardar, I know a company that can help you with that. Now, I'm not here to sell rack space, but that may be a company to check with. We can actually help with a lot of that. Now, there are some new regions. I made some bold statements. The cloud is infinite. Rah, rah, rah. Reality is brand new regions, newest of capabilities for those individual clouds. Maybe they're not all deployed there yet. They do make a measured approach going out. So take my hyperbolic type statements and put a little reality into them. Everyone, this has been a fun conversation. I've loved it. We're back next week on Tuesday and Thursday. I've got our CTO, Eric Miller, who's going to show up. I've got some other great guests who will be around as well. We will continue this conversation. We're around for the next couple of weeks. We'll take the last 2 weeks of December off, and then we're back. Now, I've heard from several of you while we were on our little, we'll call it Thanksgiving and moving break, going, where the heck are you? Hey, we're back. And sometimes you guys can't, you can't join us every Thursday. We are looking at, and I'd love to know your input on this. Put it in the comments below. Giving you the audio sections of all of these as a podcast you can listen to whenever you want to. These are always less than 30 minutes, although I'm at 29 minutes and 30 seconds right now. So you'd be able to download those and listen to them as you have need. So let me know in the comments if you think that would be beneficial. Everyone, this has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for being a part of it, engaging in the conversation, and we will see you on Tuesday, 8:30 Central Time to 9 o'clock on both Tuesday and Thursday. Have an amazing rest of your week and weekend. Thanks all. How about some music?